Good morning. We're here at Big Stacy in Austin, Texas, just south of the river. This is a 33-yard pool as well. It's free, public, and also in the winter they heat the water. So right now it's a little cooler outside. There's a flood coming in, but the water, unlike Deep Eddy or Barton Springs, which is 68 degrees year-round, this is a bit warmer. You're going to see me training with some equipment this morning. Really helps me stay on top of the water. I also really like, these are Form Swim Pro 2 goggles. These in the right lens, it's constantly updating me with what my heart rate is, what the distance is, the pace. So for someone who forgets, sometimes it's hard for me to remember how many laps I've been doing, especially if I'm out here 60, 90, 120 minutes. So my coach automatically loads the program. In that right lens, it's telling me what the workout is. I think it's great. Let's get after it before the water comes in. Welcome back, episode 16. Mike Kemp here with my good friends Connor Meekins and Jared Nickerson. I'm an Ironman athlete. For those of you new to the show, broke my neck 4 months ago in a tragic cycling accident. Happy to say I'm fully back to all three sports. Just came from a swim this morning. We're here at Collective, which is the gym we actually all met at and we all belong to here in Austin, Texas. And yeah, I would really like to get together people with a strong faith and a strong background and have a conversation about things that are important in our life. Obviously our network is strong that brought us together, and for someone who's new to faith, I lean on guys like this to just learn a lot about how I can get closer to Jesus and learn what it's like to live a life of faith. So Connor, Jared, I'd love for you guys to introduce yourselves, a little bit about yourselves, and what brought you to Jesus? Was it something you grew up with, and what's your relationship with him now?
Yeah, so thanks Mike also for having us. That's super thrilled to just be having this conversation. I always think about like introductions, how would I introduce myself, right? And I always like to start with identity, right? I'm a child of God, I'm a disciple of Jesus, and I'm a servant leader. And then comes everything else from there. And so at Collective specifically, I am a nutrition coach. I'm the head nutrition coach here. We're in the shop. So the shop is something brand new and Collective that encompasses a bunch of different brands that have come to life within these walls. Many of them which started here or have had a footprint. And so just kind of bringing more to the members of which has ran through these walls, which is really cool and exciting.
Yeah, Connor's a jack of all trades. He also has a business called Lion Fit based on nutrition and fitness. And we used to live on the same floor together at an apartment complex nearby. And after this conversation, he's going to take us over to the floor in the gym and show us a bit of mobility work.
Come on, man. Yeah, so just doing my best to lead in the ways that God has provided, and those are kind of some of the ways in which we do that around here. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Jared?
Let's go, Connor. Where to start?
Yeah, where are you from? How did religion become a part of your life?
Yeah, okay. So I grew up in Washington State, in the mountains in Washington State. Kind of grew up in the faith. Grew up as a Christian. Had a Christian family. But Jesus really became real to me when I was 24. I had a visceral encounter with him in a prayer session in my bedroom with my best friend. I was kind of at my wit's end with just graduated college and had all these job offers, and I was like, dude, what am I doing with my life? This is horrible. And he simply said, what if we prayed and asked God to speak to you right now? And what if he did? And I got really nervous, and I was like, well, what if he doesn't say anything to me? And I'm like starting to shake. You know that nervousness that you get that's like, it hits your soul, and your nervous system is like feeling real.
Mm.
And then I thought to myself, like, what if God does speak to me? And I got really nervous. But in that prayer, I met Jesus, and it fundamentally changed everything in my life. Like in that moment, instantaneously, and I wept. It's a long story, but this whole testimony thing is a long story, but I broke down weeping for a few minutes, and then I thought, what was that? Because that was the most real thing I'd ever encountered.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, screw everything I thought I wanted. And it was literally in that moment. It was like night and day. There's a before and after.
I have very similar feelings. I can
Yeah.
relate to a lot of that.
Yeah.
I briefly told you before, but mine, 10 days before breaking my neck, I was on a run. My coach, Natasha, my triathlon coach, told me that I ran with too much upper body tension. Connor, I've told you this conversation because you know Natasha pretty well. And I saw a video of myself. Someone made a story of me running around the track, and I looked so stiff, and I got really self-conscious. I was like, I look ugly. I need to change that. So I took my headphones out, went down to the trail, and I thought, I'm just going to figure this out. And I was trying to think, like, what is a primal human? What is a mammal? More of like an animalistic way of running. And I started shaking out my wrists and my elbows, and then dropped my shoulders. And finally, my arms started getting in sync with my legs, and I could feel the wind resistance. And then my breath got in sync with it, and I felt like I'd leveled up. And right in that moment, and I grew up with an atheist parent and never been to church before. And right in that moment, God got behind me and pushed me with all of this. I felt all of this pressure. My legs became weightless, and nature around me, the lake, the dirt, the birds were moving with me. And I just heard him say, I've always been with you, I'm with you, and we've got this together. And same as you, stopped on the bridge and just started crying for an hour.
Yeah.
And I love what you said about it's the realest thing. I never thought about it that way, but I can also agree to that. It's the realest thing I've ever felt.
When I was sitting on my bed, and because you shared that, what had happened is I went in my mind's eye to one of the places that I go, and it was a golden hour sunset with a golden grass field, and there's an oak tree, there's a shade tree, and I saw this little boy in the grass just outside of the shade, and he was in fetal position, and I realized that boy was me.
Oh, wow.
And this man walks up to me, gets on his knees, and picks me up and pulls me into his lap. And I look up and I see the face of Jesus. And he said, I love you so much, and I've always loved you.
That's incredible.
And that's when I wept. I just broke. And I grew up in the faith. I grew up knowing who Jesus was based on, my parents did an incredible job in all of their, downfalls. But it was at that moment where I said, what was that? Because that was the most real thing. And then I just said, screw everything I thought I wanted. Jesus, I want to live life. What does it look like to love and lead the way that Jesus does, and only do what I feel God is telling me to do? And then, it became this crazy journey, and I was just praying, God, what do you want me to know? And write it down, and what do you want me to do? And I would just do that. So I moved to LA on a whim with like $400 to my name. In Marina Del Rey on the beach, my mentor said, hey, live in my apartment. Then we started a ministry, teach people how to hear God's voice, travel the country doing that, training at Gold's Gym in Venice, just getting jacked.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I was deadlifting like 615 pounds and squatting 550.
Amen.
Just going for it, dude. And loving Jesus. So dude, it's been a crazy journey.
Does it say Jesus the ultimate deadlifter?
Dude, yeah, bro. He's so jacked.
That's beautiful. It seems like he comes to people at all different times. For me, it was at 40 years old. And I'm interested to ask you, Connor, if you've had any of this like wow moment, or if it's been more of a gradual process, just because some people might be sitting here thinking, well, why didn't that happen to me? Or like, but I've noticed people who are far closer to God than me, even though they didn't have that powerful of experience. So I'm interested to hear what your process was like. Or
So it sounds like yours was at 24, right? And yours was at 40, and mine was at 29, just about 30. And it's interesting in our lives, I think, as a man, I'm like, yo, let me carry this heavy backpack with me and just take it up this big mountain and like do all this stuff and prove that I'm strong enough, prove that I'm great enough to accomplish this big task. I don't even know what the task really is, but I know I'm going to get something done. I know I'm going to get it done. And so for me, I felt like there was a lot of pride and stubbornness that I had developed. And what I learned from Galatians is actually, I was living by an act of the flesh, which is selfish ambition. I didn't know selfish ambition is an act of the flesh. I thought being ambitious was like something that you should take pride in, be proud of. I'm an ambitious guy, right? I was earning 6 figures at the age of 25, leveling up, moved to Chicago, doing all these things, and I was like, I just kept feeling this like deeper sense of loneliness and emptiness, and the fruit of my life was aligned with those decisions. Which, if you want to know about your life, look at your fruit, right? Your fruit and your decisions align perfectly. And so if you don't like the fruit of your life, look at your decisions. If you like the fruit of your life, look at your decisions, right? And so I had to get to the point where I was probably depressed for most of my 20s outside of college and didn't know why. I just kept trying to fill it with more partying, more travel, yacht parties, and everything. Think about just like grandiose, like exciting things, anything, going to Tahiti, right? Like just, I got runner-up for most valuable rager on a yacht trip. Yeah. And you do those things and you feel ecstatic in the moment. And then there's this moment that everything just like comes crashing down on you, and there is this just loneliness. It's this I don't know where to go next or what to do or how I'm going to keep living my life without experiencing another high like that. And it's kind of like chasing highs becomes the paradigm. And so I had to do enough of that. I eventually moved to Austin, Texas in 2022. Had couch surfed my way here and just moved because I felt called to move to Austin, Texas, really, and start a business.
There's something beautiful about that in Austin, at least in our realm, our community. And I'd say a lot of Austinites or people, it's a pretty transient city, but it's also a lot of people who kind of just go on a whim. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
People showing up to Austin because they just feel like, I don't know, looking for something different.
It was, people ask me all the time, like, what's Austin like? And they hear it's, super liberal or super this or whatever. And I'm like, man, Austin is one of the coolest cities because it's a self-selected city. Everyone who is here because they want to be here. And with that, they were all escaping something or coming to a like-mindedness. So it's honestly rare that you meet someone that you're like, I don't like that person, or like we don't have anything in common.
Yeah.
Like, the general consensus is people are here to better themselves, get fit, build a family, build a business, enjoy their community, enjoy the city. Like, it's a really pleasant place to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I've loved it. I met like you guys.
Yeah, and I think especially for somebody looking to expand their faith, maybe because it's a southern state, I don't know, and this is my first one. I'm only a few months into this process, but I feel completely supported. And I have my personal relationship with Jesus, but it's been so important for me. I cut into Connor. I see you every day. Because we like to work out, but it's also just amazing to have conversations where I know that I'm gonna get some great feedback about what I'm going through. Because what I've learned, and I think what I'm hearing from all three of us is, he seems to be closest to us in times when we're most overwhelmed.
Come on.
And
Come on.
that's why I wanted to have this conversation at this point in the series for me, because I'm now in a place where I'm building a business, I'm building a brand, I'm recovering from a broken neck. I almost have a full-time job just training for a full Ironman, and just trying to navigate all this by myself just felt like a task too big for me. And it seems like every time I offload some of that, or just pray with God, or just talk with him in the evening, I didn't realize how accessible he is. That's been my biggest surprise in my 4 months of having a relationship with God, is asking, and I'll hear almost immediately.
Come on.
And it may not be in the way that I wanted or the way that I thought I would, but I'm trusting that it's always the best way. What I wanted to talk to you guys about, you briefly mentioned a reset, Jared, about you guys now live with each other. I wanted to hear more about like what does this reset entail, and because to me it's interesting, people can kind of ebb and flow between their relationship with God, and I'm just interested to hear from you guys, like what pulls you away from it, or what pulls you back together, and what's your goal in the near future?
Yeah. I'll be fast on this part because it's important to give context to history.
Yeah, please.
To understand like the present state. So my background has been riddled with injuries and doctors saying you'll never be an athlete, you'll never do this. When I was 16, I had rhabdo. It almost killed me.
Oh wow. That's like your muscles degenerate.
Yeah, it's the breakdown of skeletal tissues, and your immune system attacks healthy muscle. It flags inflammation as a pathogen. So then it destroys it and releases creatinine, myoglobin, and potassium, which are renal toxic. And my CK levels were almost 40,000, which like they're not supposed to be above 200 to 2,000, depending on the doctor you talk to. So
was there something that induced this? Because
Yeah.
I've heard some people do ultrathons or something.
So I was 16, which doesn't usually happen at 16. But I was chronically sick. I was training for regionals in swimming, and I was weightlifting, and I had a fever, strep throat fever, 103. Finished my antibiotics and just jumped back. I didn't have an off switch. I was just kind of freaked that way.
Connor can relate to that.
Yeah, you can too.
Yeah, I think all three of us.
Yeah. So that almost killed me, and doctors are like, "You have to live with this." And I said, "My God's bigger. You watch."
Come on.
16 years old. Came back bigger, faster, stronger for the football season that next year, and I was like, "Wow, this is great." At 19, I was in a car wreck, which left me crippled for almost 2 years. I had back surgery, and again, all these doctors that were like, "You'll never be an athlete again. You're not going to be able to do this. You're not going to be able to do this." And I slept in a recliner, couldn't straighten my legs out, couldn't tie my shoes. It was bad. I was in pain every moment of every day, and I remember when I was going in under surgery, my surgeon was like telling me what life is going to look like, and I go, "I've heard that before. My God is bigger." And I came through that in 7 months after surgery, squatting 405, and then really fell in love with the gym at that point, and went in powerlifting and jiu-jitsu competitions and bodybuilding and all this stuff. And then I met Jesus. Then I really met Jesus. That changed my life, and that was a crazy experience experiment. And then in 2020, I'd started my business. And during 2020, I just worked 15, 18-hour days, 7 days a week. And I started to rely on my own strength. And my mentor from 2016, and even now, we talk about this idea, and we talked about this the other day, this idea about living on the fumes of my past. And I don't want to be the guy, and he's 73 now, he goes, I never want to be the guy that tells the same story over and over. I don't want to tell the same story 20 years later. I want new stories. I want new stories in my walk with Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And I came to the realization, and it's been chewing me up inside, is that I've been living in the fumes of my past. I've been living in the same stories, which has been great because it's got me here, but I've found myself like frustrated, angry at myself, not relying on the Lord, relying on my own strength, and like where life is, it's like, dude, I mean, my life is epic. I live a 1% life, and yet I'm still unsatisfied. And I said, when was I most happy? And it was, when did I have the most joy? And it was when every day was just, Jesus, what do you want me to know? And the reset for me, and Connor can share his story in this, because we just started living together like 3 weeks ago. But I realized, like, man, I really just get to lean on the Lord. And so at nights, we've been like killing all the lights, just in the last couple of days, just killing all the lights, no music, and just sitting with the Lord and stretching. Last night we did some listening prayer, and we just prayed for 45 minutes with no lights, no nothing. And it's just totally resetting my evening, and it resets my morning, which resets my entire day. And like it's like the winning formula, if there is a formula.
Love that. So creating new habits.
Yeah.
And you guys also hosted a worship on Friday, right, at your house?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll start doing that more. Connor, that was his idea.
Yeah, I think we all wanted to kind of have some worship together. It was, it was pretty cool. And
What's a reset for you?
well, I've just been thinking a lot about this as you guys have been talking, and I think my life has changed in the way that I get fired up about something, or like get convicted in something, I guess would be a good way to say that. There's really a few different ways you can think about approaching a day. You can work from motivation, which is like an external, like do this, get that, right? And so we're oftentimes like, man, I don't feel super motivated to go to the gym today, right? And we'll get ourselves pumped up, like listen to good music or whatever, drink some caffeine or like whatever it takes, right? Do the thing that's gonna get you amped. And you can do that for a little while, but it's gonna fizz out. You know that your dopamine's gonna kind of run low, and you're gonna eventually feel that like, I can't really run on super effectively on motivation. You just kind of fume out. And then there's running on inspiration, right? Which inspiration comes from within. It's being inspired is in the spirit, right? It comes from within you, and that will last a lot longer. But what I've found is that I actually, when I come to operate fully in the spirit, is when I'm in an act of desperation. It's not motivation or inspiration, it's pure desperation. And I just cannot do anything in my own will. And it's just too painful to get up and hardly make a move. And man, I got hit with that again on Sunday when we did High Rocks Men's Pro Doubles. And I had felt like going into that race that I was not prepared, dealing with a naggy kind of hip lower back injury. Took 4 days off leading up, just praying that I would feel good going into the race. And we get kind of in that noise in the arena. These are the best High Rocks competitors in the world. And you can psych yourself up externally all you want by giving yourself positive self-talk, but the body just wasn't in it that day. I had gotten to a point where I think I was emotionally and physically so exhausted that something had to give. My partner and I, we go and we run out in doubles, and I knew within the second lap around the track that this was going to be a tough day. I pull him aside on the second segment of the race after the sled push, and I said, buddy, I don't think I'm going to keep going. I don't think I have it in me to keep going today. And he's like, why don't you just keep moving, and you got this, and he worked to keep me going. We kept going. I get to the assault rower. I do my 500 meters. He's on his 500. There's cameras on. Everything's going on around us. There's a lot of commotion. High Rocks is this big world event now. And I was super sweaty, and I'm standing behind him. I'm looking up at him for a second, I put my head down, and I just broke down in tears for a good 30 seconds. And I finally just let it all go, what I was holding on to. And I became desperate.
You were probably sweating enough that nobody could tell you.
That was the goal.
Are you an ugly crier?
Was
Are you
that?
an ugly crier? Dude, I'm ugly.
Man, I mean, I just
Who
try
is
to.
it?
I think I'm somebody who still feels a level of shame when I cry, and I need to just let that go.
Yeah.
You know, it's no shame, especially in the face of the Lord, dude. Like he's ready to receive all of that
Yeah.
from you.
Yeah.
That's been such a commonality I'm noticing with people in our group. Not only do you have faith, but you're also leaning into authenticity and expressing a feminine energy. We're all pretty big dudes, strong dudes. Definitely have a masculine energy. We're doing pretty competitive things with our lives. But what I love about us also is we're not afraid to talk about our emotions, to talk about our feelings. I haven't cried at a High Rocks yet, but maybe that's
I don't think I ever would. I'm just kidding.
Cry rocks.
Cry rocks.
Yeah, that's not really me. But Cry
I'm
rocks.
making it a thing.
But I think it's just something neat is what I'm noticing with faith is it kind of gets involved in everything and can bring out the best version of you in every way. At least for somebody who's growth minded, I spent my 20s and 30s reading every single self-help personal growth book I could find. I think you and I have had that conversation as well.
Mm-hmm.
And how silly of me to completely avoid the Bible, which I've quickly learned is the best one of all.
Yeah.
So that's been neat for me.
I look at that similarly too, Mike, in sharing the gospel with others. When I was reading, the 50 personal growth books a year, right? When we're in the trenches there, you'd find the top. Everybody asks you, what are your top 3 books, right? Like, what are your top 5? That's like a common podcast question, and that's a great question. But it's like if you had the best book, if you had the best advice, if you had the best thing to share with people that you just knew would change someone's life, you would share that with them immediately, right? And we know sitting in this room that is hands down Jesus Christ.
Mm.
When you follow Jesus, and I don't just mean like, say, hey, Jesus is great, and then you just go out into the world. Like when you choose to pick up your cross daily and choose to live the way that Jesus called you to live, your life becomes so much different.
Yeah.
It becomes so much different. It is night and day, and it's important to accept that discipline and that correction, because if you don't like the results of your life and you keep doing things the same way, you have to ask yourself, why am I not getting good results? And I realized it's because I wasn't following what the Bible had said to do, or what Jesus had said to do.
Mm.
And he is the ultimate authority. He's the ultimate leader. He's the greatest leader of all time. And I realized when I started living the way that Jesus called us to live,
Practicing obedience.
dude, my life just did a complete turnaround.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. Jared, one thing I want to talk about with relationships is I was fortunate when I first got to know you to meet Tiffany as well. And you guys have such a beautiful relationship that even before I had religion, you guys brought me to Red Rocks, and I've got to witness a little bit of that. Can you talk about how it's had an impact, spirituality has had an impact on your relationship?
Oh man. Yeah. So Tiff's a travel nurse, and she was here for 2 years, and she's been in Hawaii since February.
Wow.
She gets back tomorrow.
Oh, wow,
Tomorrow
that's
night.
exciting.
So, really excited for her to come back. And like the closer we get to it, the more excited I get. So
Oh, you're pretty close.
yeah. Tomorrow pick her up.
Come
10
on.
p.m.
Come on.
But one thing about Tiff is, and it's just proven so, and it's like so true with her, is her number one focus is the Lord. Like her number one is Jesus. And dude, she will check me on things over and over. Cause like I'm this guy and I'm like, all right, I've been stuck in like what I need to do. And it's like, I know all of these things, but Tiffany's been such a rock in that way of like, hey, what does the Lord say about this right now? And I'm like, you're right. Like, have you taken it to Jesus? You know what? Actually, I haven't been. And it's really made our relationship so much stronger. We've definitely, like every relationship, have our issues and toils and whatnot, especially this last year. But every time that we come into conflict with one another, and it's not often, we don't fight a lot, but when we come into conflict, I think what God has done in our relationship, because we both like set him first, and it's like at the center of it all. It's not necessarily first, but at the very center of it. Our focus isn't about getting right and being understood. It's what is the most holy thing that we can do in this conflict? How do we find, just like, how do we choose to love each other and see each other the way that the Lord sees us? How do we have compassion for one another? How do we move forward in grace? And that's always it. So what we always talk about is we don't care what we argue about. It's how we handle it. And that has only come because of our relationship with the Lord. And I think there's a strong reason why, and it's interesting because, like, here's a crazy statistic. Divorce in the church and outside of the church is roughly the same. It's like 51, 52%. I think in the church it's like 49, 50%.
Okay.
Do you know what the number one factor is that reduces divorce, like, drastically?
Communication.
It's prayer.
Prayer.
Couples that pray out loud together have a divorce rate under 3%.
Wow.
Whoa.
Couples that pray together, not just like, God, thank you for this food, but like actively intercede with one another, divorce is under 3%.
Yeah.
So,
there's lots of that.
I'm like, there's so many, in a world with so many options and so many women and men, it's like easy, like Instagram, you just open the floodgates, you can do whatever you want. But to find someone who's going to battle and war with you in the spirit and in the world, like, that's really freaking rare, man. And when you can do that, it's like your relationship just gets tighter. Like Tiffany and I, like, we just get tighter and tighter. And even when I'm feeling one kind of way, like, I just reflect back and like, all right, God, why are we here? And what is this for? And like, I just feel it's getting closer.
I'm really glad you brought that up. I got to just taste it this summer. I dated a German lady, and it was my first time. It's so funny because if I would have listed top 10 things I wanted in a woman 6 months ago, spirituality or religion wouldn't have even been on the list, just because my lack of awareness, and the importance of that. And now that I'm growing in my own faith, I've realized how that's number one now for me, actually, because I would want that to grow just like you guys are growing with it. And also the biggest problem in my last long-term relationship was I wanted it to be me and my partner versus the problem rather than me versus them or them versus me. And that can be hard to do, and that takes a lot of wisdom and maturity, and I'm sure God can help a lot with that. So I'm super glad you brought that up.
Well, if you truly believe this, like we talked about when I was coming back from High Rocks on the phone with you, that your prayer life and your real life look pretty similar, which I'm growing in conviction that that's the truth, then why would I be surprised if that was true, that my real life has been almost non-existent when my prayer life's been almost non-existent, right? Like, of course, if you've been praying small, then the results in your life are going to be pretty small too. But if you've been praying bold prayers consistently and constantly and just dropping in with the Lord, and then suddenly things start to shift in your life, well, I wouldn't be so surprised at that either. You can pray with conviction and pray with boldness, pray with clarity, and then lean into it, and your real life's probably going to look something like the prayer life looks.
Love it. And it's so cool that it crosses all boundaries of personal, professional, relationship. We've talked about a lot of them. Guys, I would love to keep this going for hours, but I think we're probably over time.
We have time?
What I do, and I'll definitely have you guys back on, and we'll be able to talk more about it. But what I do want to finish on is, I'm so thankful that God came into my life, and the most that I could get out of this is if there's anybody watching who might feel overwhelmed by not knowing where to start or how to get involved or how to cultivate a relationship. So I think my finishing topic to ask you guys, because you're so much more versed in it than me, is what would you recommend for someone like that who's kind of tiptoeing or doesn't really understand? How could they get started?
I would say treat him like he's real, because he is. Have a conversation. You know what I mean? Like, talk to him. Don't. There's really not a lot of pressure there, to be honest. It's a great song by Brandon Lake, Talking to Jesus, and all you have to do is talk. You can be in your car, And if you're anything like me, it's when you're in a rush and all of a sudden you're trying to see if you can skirt like 3 cars forward on the left or the right side. Instead of doing that, maybe just pause for a moment and say something out loud and invite Jesus into that space. And that would be one way to start. I think another way, if you really want to get practical and open up the word a little bit, I've been loving the book of Matthew. It's just a practical way for you to know who Jesus is. Matthew chapters 5 through 7 specifically. Chapter 6 is really good, talking about anxiety and what it means. Anxiety demonstrates our lack of trust that God is going to do what He's promised to do, right? And so anxiety is us actually trying to take control of our lives when God is truly the one that's at the helm there. So I love the book of Matthew. So that would
Awesome.
be my.
Thanks, Connor. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's good. In Scripture, I think the easiest book to probably read is there's the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, understanding who Jesus is. And then even just opening up Proverbs, because there's 31 Proverbs, so you can just read one a day. And it's like some of the most basic and effective advice that we could ever follow. You read it and you're like, yeah, this makes sense. It's like the foundation of I try to read Proverbs every day. But the thing that I most often tell people and encourage people to do is a very simple practice. And I'll talk with someone and say, hey, I'm going to give you some homework tonight. And I want you to do it 3 to 5 times this week, if not every night. When you go to bed, or right before you go to bed, grab a journal, piece of paper, and write at the top, God, how have you loved me today that I might have missed?
Wow.
And you just write down the first things that come to mind. We try to conceptualize and make meaning of things. When if God is real, and if He knows me better than I know myself, then why don't I trust Him? And even if you don't know if you trust Him, you can just do a thought experiment. God, how have you loved me today that I might have missed? And just write down the first things that come to mind. And it could be like, I remember one time I was just, God, how have you loved me today? And I just saw this image of these 2 birds that were like dancing in the sky. And I was just like, oh, what a beautiful reminder of His companionship with me. Like, I never would have thought that, but that's what had come up when I said, how have you loved me today? And maybe it was an interaction with someone. And it's just such an effective way to learn how to hear God's voice and just be starting to engage and play with trust. And I think that's the biggest thing that we have. The biggest opportunity we have is learning how to trust. So that would be my piece.
I love that. Thanks for sharing. Also, I love that it's at the end of your evening where a lot of people might be thinking, this is what I didn't accomplish today. I'm going to have 1 hour less sleep than I wanted. These are all the things I have to do tomorrow, but you're coming from a place of gratitude of you're probably going to sleep better, dream better, start your next day better. So that's incredible. Just to finish, Connor, we are in the shop, which is, I've been a member here for several years, and it's never really quite gotten to a place that it is right now. And I just wanted to say, Connor, first, congratulations on bringing this all together. But one of the cool things, Pablo will show you in some shots here, other parts of the shop. One of the coolest thing is 75%, 80% of the products are from people who are members, who are owners of companies, and pretty much all health oriented, right? And it's just really cool that you and Collective, that's the spirit of the gym, of the community here, is bringing together people who have brought their own companies to life.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool to see things come to life in this space, and we really had three main goals when it came to building this, and it's very simple. It was to serve members, right, to the best of our ability, and what better way to serve members than to bring brands that they're all very aligned with or have even launched out of the walls. For some, you see Noble back there, good friends, and lots of other brands in here that are just great and member focused. And secondly is to have swagger in this space. You want to come in and want to spend time here. You want to come in and just be like, man, this is a place I want. Like, I don't know what it is. This place is pretty cool. And the third is to tell the story. And as we continue to build this out, it's going to tell the story of Collective, when it started, where Collective is at today. And good friend and mentor of mine, Jeremy Hills, has been a person I've looked up to a lot, and he shared with me so many aspects of this story. And I want members to know when they walk in and just observe, like, man, what is this space, and how has it become such a a beautiful spot where people can collaborate and build. So that's what we wanted to do here.
Yeah, Jeremy is one of the founders of Collective, along with Devin, and just a really cool. I used to be the guy that always, I don't know about y'all, just put my headphones in, treated it like business. I was introvert, and
We wouldn't let you do that, brother.
And then I came into Collective, and everyone kept wanting to bother me. And at first, I was like, "Stop bothering me." But now I'll come in here for a 40-minute workout, and I'll be here 2 hours just because I'm having conversations like this. So, if you're looking for community and you're looking to broaden your faith or anything, friendship, finding a gym, a social club like this, some people might avoid it because it costs more than Gold's or 24-hour fitness or something. But what I would try to share is it's so much more than that price tag. You might meet someone who's your next job opportunity. We've got a co-op space upstairs. And I know you guys have had that similar experience of your network growing so big just from joining a gym.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful experience for sure.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being on, guys. Really appreciate you.
Love you a lot, brother.
Would love to have you guys on again because I know we got a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, brother. Super down.
So last thing I wanted to do today is Connor has a wealth of knowledge specifically in mobility. And for someone now in the next few months, you're going to see me going into 15 to 20 hours of Ironman training, 3 to 4 hours of strength training, plus I'm still currently doing 7 hours per week of physical therapy. That's a lot of work we're doing on our body. And the most important thing I need to add to that is mobility work. For somebody who spends a lot of time with my thoracic hunched, with my hip flexors crunched. Basically, Connor's gonna walk us through some things that really open up my body so that I can be more functional, preventing injuries, and a host of other things.
Yeah, for sure, Mike. And I think there's different aspects of mobility. One thing that I want to keep a focus on, though, is you don't have to ignore the weight completely when it comes to mobility, right? Like, you can put weight onto this landmine and actually work through this different range of motion at the thoracic spine. You see, the intent, though, is not to completely take that off and just rotate our thoracic spine. It's to challenge ourselves, right? By putting this 25-pound plate on there, I'm sure you can lift more than 25 on there.
Sure.
But we're gonna get that so we can rotate it down and around, kind of like in an airplane sort of a way, so that you can lengthen at the lat over here on each side, and that you can also rotate through that plane at your thoracic spine. So
Awesome.
Just gonna kind of dive into that a little bit.
That's something I'm definitely noticing. Let's say I'm on a bicycle and with my neck injury, I need to turn around to look behind me. I'm noticing that limitation. So landmine for thoracic and lat and back extension.
Yep, exactly. Cool. So what's gonna happen here is I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna get low, I'm gonna take this nice and high. And what I'm gonna do is I've got this right up around my chest, kind of neck area. I'm gonna take this, watch my feet. I'm gonna come and actually rotate down. And you're gonna see as I go through this, I'm gonna kind of work my lat down. My core is engaged, so when I pull up, the core is gonna stick with me. And I'm gonna bring this lat all the way through so I can come down and kind of create this rotational pattern.
See that twist.
Yep, you see how I'm reaching down here?
Yeah.
Right? So the more I go, the more it flows. The more I go, the more it flows. You got 25 pounds on here, so it's not light, but you want to keep that core involved here as you're moving through that exercise. You don't need more than like 3 or 4 per side, but this is gonna open you up quite a bit.
Cool.
You can take that up to the top, right? Take your hands up a little bit higher on the, yep, there we go. So your feet are gonna start just like this, yep. And I want you to actually take and kind of almost clasp your hands up. Yep, what I want you to do is take and almost turn down here and drop that right arm so that lat extends down.
Yeah.
Activate your core and move up through with your core, and drop that all the way down so that lat starting to come through. And now work it back to the top, rotate your feet, drop and drive, see if you can get, there you go. Now back through. See yourself rotating in this.
Nice.
Let's do 2 more. See if you can just turn your head just a little bit further. See how you opened up when you turn your head?
Twist.
Now come through. All the way back down. Up to the top.
Nice.
Easy set down.
Yeah, I can definitely feel that twist.
That lat should lengthen out quite a bit. Your lat actually drops all the way down here at your back. A lot of people think that it's like the lat sits up high.
Yeah, it comes down pretty low.
It connects way down low when it comes to that position. and that origin. So just knowing how big the lat muscle is, and in combination with your thoracic spine, how it creates that rotational pattern is really, it's kind of a good thing to work on there. So,
Sweet. Yeah, I felt a lot of rotation there.
cool.
Cool. Let's hop in the next one.
That's one. All right, here's what we're gonna do. A lot of us, whether it's because, you know, you're in Ironman training, and whether that's become a lifestyle, like Mike's able to dedicate quite a bit of his life right now to it, or you're just working a job and you kind of get up and then you have to go do all this intense training. Your body doesn't really know, essentially, that you're about to go do something ridiculously hard. So you have to kind of prep your nervous system and you got to prep your body to know that you're about to go do something more challenging. And our hips are one of the first things to get super tight on us. And I learned that if my hips are tight, could potentially create low back pain as well, amongst other things. So just thinking about the root of different issues and opening up at the hips. So these 90-90s have been a game changer for me. We do this with our athletes as well before almost every segment. And why I have this PVC pipe is because it's positioning for me. It allows me not to like tuck down under when I go, so you'll see what I mean. I'm gonna sit down here, I'm gonna create one 90-degree portion here and another one through the back. And I'm gonna lift up high, so I'm not sitting down like this. A lot of people wanna like tuck down.
Keep your chest up?
Yep, you wanna keep your chest connected this whole time. You're not gonna see my chest fall off here. So I'm gonna rotate up through this left leg. I'm gonna press my feet down into the ground, and then I'm gonna turn and take this all the way down and rotate around, right?
That's a 90-90.
That's a 90-90. My chest has been connected the entire time to the movement. Watch, lifting up here, I'm up, 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 up. This is gonna feel really challenging. You're greasing the groove though. You gotta learn to kind of like let that joint capsule, you gotta mobilize within, and I'm still connected all the way at the top. If I have you.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I could do this at all.
You got this, dude. And Mike, slow motion's better than no motion.
So one leg's here.
Yep, so you got 90
Or it
degrees
needs
here.
to come
Yep.
all the way out.
Let's start with your right. Let's go like this first. Yep,
Okay.
right side. There you go. And that left leg is gonna kind of follow suit down here. Perfect. That's exactly what you want. Now, you're gonna take that PVC pipe,
Yeah,
kind of hug it up to the, yeah. There you go.
I'm not gonna be able to twist all the way around, I don't think.
You're good. Let's see if you can even hug the PVC pipe up to your chest. You're good.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have that mobility. I just can't
So
sit up right now.
this is good because we'll modify it a little bit. We're gonna see if we can do what's called a windshield wiper, okay? So we're gonna, instead of going that full with the proud chest, we're gonna take and we're gonna move our hands behind us.
Okay.
Right? So now you don't have to go just as high, you can support yourself.
And still do the 90.
Yep, and you're still gonna go 90 degrees, and you're just gonna flip over and move your hands along with it. Yep, there you go. Attaboy. Yep. Flip down, see if you can pull this back just a little bit. Nice, and now work on keeping these feet exactly where they are, stationed. Plant them into the ground and drop this down. There you go.
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
So I can do a what, a windshield wiper?
Windshield wipers instead.
All right.
A little bit of a modification. There's always modifications in training. You know, if you can't do the advanced version of an exercise, there's different ways to kind of pull back. Mike is now, what he's doing is he's allowing his, that part next to his core next to his pelvis not to take on so much of that pressure.
Yeah.
So he can kind of feel himself supported down low and instead just kind of work on that windshield wiper component just like you would on a car, right? So kind of
Yeah, that's all I got right now, but I'd love to progress to the 90-90.
Hey.
I think it's just my spinal cord and my spine just not able to rotate or to hold me up like that.
Well, and this is, look, we got to realize how amazing it is that Mike's here doing what he is today, given how many different things have happened in the past few months and with your spine. And so, dude, like massive props to
Let's
you.
take what we got.
For sure.
Let's
for
see
sure.
the last one.
Okay, number 3. I had dealt with sciatic nerve pain. Still just a little bit, but man, it's almost completely cleared up, praise the Lord. But man, 3.5 years ago, I was unable to, I was completely pulled from running, and I was left wondering why that happened. I thought it was compartment syndrome, thought it might be a stress fracture. Started as a tingling in my lower left shin, and I realized that everything is rooted. There's a root to everything, and then there's the symptom, right? So we don't treat the symptom, we treat the root. And so this was one thing that for me helped me a ton, is actually my hamstrings got super tight, which was leading to lower back tightness. Now this is a banded hamstring distraction. You can see how big this band is that's coming and working as force against my leg. And so when I step down here, I'm gonna press my foot into the ground. You can see my back foot is kind of kickstanding in the back, and I'm working this into flexion, this right leg. and I'm gonna point it up, my foot, and then I'm gonna walk it back.
Extend the hamstring.
Yep, and I'm squeezing my quad at the top of that movement, right? So I'm just extending my hamstrings. I'm not trying to drop my hips or anything here. I'm just working down through this range, and I'm pressing my heel down into it, and you're gonna feel this big stretch in the back of your hamstring. It's gonna wake everything up. So,
Nice.
Look, there's different sizes for the bands. If you wanna start with less band tension, you just grab a smaller band. And so, you wanna give this a shot? Or
Yeah, we might as well.
let's do it. I'm gonna raise it up for you a little bit, Mike, because you're a taller guy.
Cool.
Okay? So let's start it right here. And you're gonna
Let's
work
step
your
through
right
my
leg
right.
into it, yep. So remember, the banded leg is the one that steps forward, okay? You're gonna feel that tension coming up on board. And if you want, here's another modification. You can use this plyometric box, and you can actually position your hands onto that if you don't want to fully touch the ground,
Okay.
right?
So I come down.
Yep, so you can use that kickstand your back foot. So you're gonna be like, this is heel up. Yep, there you go. This one can mobilize and move a little bit.
Okay.
And then that front one, you're gonna lift up like this onto your toe.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna straighten and extend it out to the top of the position. There you go. Feel that big stretch up
Oh
in
yeah,
the,
that's big.
yep,
And
there
I
you
just
go.
hold it there.
Yep, so go back down. Yep, keep your hips, and then push and extend all the way back up to the top. Squeeze your quad at the top of the movement. There you go. Nice. Yep, let's go, one more. You feel that big stretch?
Oh yeah. I feel it.
Yeah, okay. One more. Push through, press the heel into the ground. Yep. All right, breathe and come back out of it.
Yeah, it's a big stretch.
That's a big stretch. So oftentimes we try to stretch on our own without any support or help from these big mechanisms, but this is putting, I don't know how many pounds, but quite a lot of weight as like sheer force of resistance against your hamstring to work that tissue in a greater way. So if you put on a lot of muscle, like Mike, you have to actually find new ways to adapt and work it in different ranges of motion. So that's another way to kind of band distract yourself into a deeper stretch.
Appreciate you, man.
Love you a lot, dude,
Love you too.
and love what you're doing.
These are newer exercises for me, but he has shown me a lot that I do incorporate as well as my physio. Just wanted to highlight the importance of, as a hybrid athlete, yeah, we put in the time into the strength, we put in the time into the endurance, but as you and I know, the fourth sport of triathlon for me is recovery, and that mobility work is key. And you're the king of mobility. You're in here always moving your body, and just taking those extra 10 to 15 minutes a day, I'm sure can do wonders, especially as you get to my age.
It's huge. It's huge. Movement is super foundational, especially when it comes to strength. And so you can see I'm already sweating. So mobility is not something that feels necessarily easy, but it is super important. And like I said, it's foundational to your long-term success in future pursuits in sports. So hopefully that's helpful.
Awesome.
Cool.
Hope you guys learned something from it. Thanks for coming on, Connor. Really appreciate you.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Cool. Thanks, Mike.